All right. Well, good evening, community. Welcome to another episode of Both Sides of the Conversation. I am your co-host, Mark Scott, joined by my amazing co-host, Miss Io White. Miss Io, say something to the community.
Good evening, community. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Educational Thursdays. We have a great show lined up for you and can't wait for you guys to meet our guest this evening.
That is right. As you know, on every Thursday, we do Educational Thursdays, and our guest is going to bring some very powerful information. But as always, on behalf of the Bishop, John Henry, who's out in the community, we want to make sure that we continue to provide you with all the news and events going on in the community. So, with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the headlines. And our first headline is going to start off. San Francisco parents are increasingly anxious about the possibility of school closures. San Francisco school officials are now debating potential school closures to address the district's financial challenges that are exacerbated by the end of pandemic aid. The district has lost 4,000 students since 2012-2013 school year and expects a further decrease of another 4,600 students by 2032. Now, funding concerns arise as it is based on enrollment and attendance. With a projected $37.6 million deficit this year, Superintendent Wayne points to challenges like declining enrollment and staff shortages. And despite rumors of mass school closures, the school board has not confirmed any specific plans. The district stresses considering all options before closures, but the United Educators of San Francisco warns against rash decisions. And the board will potentially vote on proposals by June after advisory committee meetings, and the next meeting is on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Also, in local news, Newsom announces encampment sweep funding amid San Francisco hearings. California is directing an extra $38 million for homeless encampment clearances. Governor Newsom has criticized court decisions that hinder local homelessness solutions. The funds from the Encampment Resolution Fund will be spread across various California regions to help connect the homeless to services and housing, potentially aiding about 1,250 people. Meanwhile, San Francisco, which earlier received $17 million, is appealing an injunction against certain sweeps due to a lawsuit by the Coalition on Homelessness, which the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals is currently reviewing. Also in national news, Tropical Storm Franklin on its way to becoming a hurricane. Tropical Storm Franklin, located near latitude 22.4 north and longitude 68.9 west, is set to become a hurricane by Saturday. Its path will shift north, passing between 500 and 700 miles off the Carolinas by Monday, potentially causing rough surf and rip currents. Concurrently, a low pressure system over Central America is moving to the northwestern Caribbean Sea. This system has a 60% probability of developing into a tropical storm, which may impact Florida and the southeast U.S. coast by midweek. The exact trajectory remains uncertain, and close monitoring is advised. Also in the news, will the Orange County mass shooting finally convince California Democrats that domestic violence is a violent crime? A retired police sergeant targeted his estranged wife in a mass shooting in an Orange County bar, killing 3 and injuring 6. The incident emphasized the link between domestic violence and mass shootings. Over 68% of U.S. mass shootings from 2014 to 2019 involved perpetrators with a domestic violence history or targeted family members. California laws restrict convicted domestic abusers and those with restraining orders from having firearms, which, when enforced, have prevented numerous threatened mass shootings. However, enforcement is inconsistent, and the U.S. Supreme Court is reviewing the constitutionality of these restrictions. Many Californian officials oppose the relaxing these restrictions. Given potential changes, there are calls to reclassify domestic violence in California Penal Code as a violent crime instead of its current nonviolent status, which would have implications for sentencing and parole. And that is going to do it for the news. God, I wish we could get some better news going on, but I think Miss Io probably has some good stuff going on in the community with the event. So I'll turn it over to you, Miss Io.
Definitely, definitely. And for starters, with the good news, join the Dream Keepers initiative at SFUSD for Black to School, a resource fair for families of Black students in SFUSD on August 26, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Spark Social San Francisco, 601 Mission Bay Boulevard North in San Francisco. This event is completely free. Again, I repeat, completely free. Bayview Opera House presents Men in Suits and Women in Dresses on Saturday, August 26, 2023, from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. at 4705 3rd Street in San Francisco. This also is a free event, and suits and dresses required to attend. For a table, please call the number on the screen. Hi, neighborhood and friends from OMI Cultural Participation Projects. Please come out for the D11 community cleanups and help us beautify the district to our monthly community cleanup on August 26, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the Brotherhood and Head Mini Park, as well as Randolph and Bright Mini Park. Come out for the 2023 Potrero Hill Day on the Green Family Day. It will be Saturday, August 26th from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. It will be located at the Potrero Hill Gym at 801 Arkansas Street, San Francisco. Volunteers are still needed, so please register. OMI Cultural Participation Project, A Day at the Races, Saturday, August 26, 11:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. at Golden Gate Fields Racetrack Turf Club, 1100 East Shore Highway. This is in Berkeley, California. Entry fee will be $100. Help us make memories. We are hiring at the Chase Center Job Fair on Thursday, August 31st, 2023, from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., located at One Warriors Way in San Francisco. Looking for work? Join APRI for the August info session with guest speakers from Smart Money Coaching on August 31st at the APRI Learning Center, 1301 Evans Avenue in San Francisco. This will be held from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Join First Exposures for a year of photography. The free photography mentoring program is here for ages 11 through 18. Get ready for fun, friends, and a whole lot of photography. No experience needed. Just bring your passion and curiosity. The deadline for signups is September 1st, 2023, so apply today. Inspiring Young Emerging Leaders is seeking local high school students who qualify for free or reduced lunch paid internship positions. Students will learn about environmental justice and social justice issues while getting paid. The deadline to apply is also September 1st, 2023. Friends of the Urban Forest presents Green Teens Fall 2023 for ages 16 through 19. Green your city and your resume by improving the city through tree care and sidewalk gardening. All training and equipment is provided. You must be a SFUSD student or in a GED program. Deadline to apply is September 1st. Mark your calendars and join APRI and Only Loud for the Small Business Market event on Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Indian Basin Shoreline Park in San Francisco. It will be a day of entrepreneurship, creativity, and community. Cold Tenderloin's Job Readiness Program, September 5th at 222 2nd Street in San Francisco, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Orientation is Friday, September 1st at 55 Taylor Street. Cold Tenderloin's Free Coding Boot Camp, September 6th through the 25th, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 55 Taylor Street. Restorative Justice is hosting the 11th Annual Reentry Conference and Job Fair Friday, September 8th, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at St. Mary's Cathedral Event Center on 1111 Gulf Street in San Francisco. It's free admission, parking, continental breakfast, and lunch. Doors open at 7:45 a.m. We are welcoming all families and pregnant people to the Pop-Up Village second Saturdays in the Bayview on September 9th, 2023, from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Engage in self-care and get valuable resources and much more. Located between 1201 Mendel Street and Bayview Opera House in San Francisco. We're thrilled to announce that APRI and Swinnerton are teaming up to bring to you the STEM at the Park event Saturday, September 23rd, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Indian Basin Shoreline Park, San Francisco. This event is tailor-made for high school students who have a passion for exploring careers in STEM fields. Do not miss out. New vaccination site, COVID-19 booster, monkeypox antiviral pill treatment. Thursday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 330 Ellis Street, as well as Saturdays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 1221 Mission Street. The San Francisco Justice Project presents the San Francisco Museum for All program. Free or $3 admissions to low-income families in San Francisco all summer long. The Community Living Room, open all day, Monday through Friday, breakfast 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and grab-and-go lunches from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. at City of Hope Cafe, 750 Ellis Street in San Francisco. Join the conversation at the YMCA Men's Harambe Cuts Shop Talk. Get a fresh cut and end the night feeling and looking great. Thursdays, October 12th, 2023, 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Bayview YMCA, 1601 Lane Street in San Francisco for ages 14 and up with complimentary refreshments and swag. International Shakeout Day, October 19th, 2023. Join in on the world's largest earthquake drill. Register to participate. Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue. San Francisco every Thursday through November 30th, 3 p.m. through 7 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Lion King, Friday, December 8th, 7:30 p.m. at the Orpheum Theater, 1192 Market Street in San Francisco. Wu Yi presents the Holiday Pajama Jam for the Bottles and Blanket Pantry on Saturday, December 16th, 2023, from 1 to 4 p.m. at 4900 3rd Street in San Francisco. They are a new nonprofit and donations are needed. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Wiz, Saturday, January 27th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at the Golden Gate Theater, 1 Taylor Street in San Francisco. San Francisco Human Rights Commission has a regular bi-monthly commission meeting on the second and fourth Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. in the City Hall Room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. Be a mentor in SFUSD. Join SFUSD's school-based mentoring program, Mentoring for Success. Sign up to volunteer as an individual or group mentor district-wide. Would you like to promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact? Sign up for our Hidden Gems show. Share your expertise on our Educational Thursday and be a panelist on our Sunday's conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation's latest shows and community outreach events. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at bsotc.org. BSOTC welcomes individuals who are interested in giving back to their community to join us as volunteers. We value the positive impact volunteers can make and invite you to be a part of our mission to uplift and support our community. BSOTC kindly requests your invaluable support for our podcast and community engagement endeavors. We cordially invite you to explore any of our donation links, as your generous contributions will greatly aid us in enhancing our program. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the Dreamkeeper Initiative and its support of BSOTC's programming. The Dreamkeeper Initiative amplifies the voices of and invests in San Francisco's diverse Black communities to reform public safety and address structural inequities in San Francisco. Join us this Sunday for our Sunday conversation, August 27th, Back to School, Empowering Black Parents and Educational Advocates. Also, join us Tuesday, August 29th for our Hidden Gem segment.
All right, Sister Ayo, you did a fantastic job getting through all those events, community. I really hope y'all appreciate our dedication to making sure you get the news and information that you need. Without any further ado, though, we do have an amazing guest who is not her first time here. But for those who may not remember, let me give a proper introduction. Miss Katie Dixon was once incarcerated, is now a beacon of hope and change. From a past marked by juvenile manslaughter to adult convictions for drug sales, firearm possession, and robbery, Katie has journeyed far. She celebrated a decade of freedom here in 2023, having graduated from the Delancey Street Foundation in 2014. And today she champions the rights of incarcerated women as part of the California Coalition for Women Prisoners. This grassroots abolitionist organization actively challenges the prison industrial complex's violence against women, transgender individuals, and communities of color. With a deep commitment to racial and gender justice, Katie stands firm with those most affected, leading the charge against institutional violence and advocating for transformative change. So while we introduce to some and present to others, let's bring up Miss Katie Dixon. All right. How you doing, Miss Dixon?
Good, good. I am doing absolutely fantastic this evening. And after that beautiful introduction, you know, I'm just feeling real inspired and appreciated. So I'm
We
doing good and thank you all for having me. And I appreciate too all those community events you guys are highlighting. You know what I'm saying? That stuff is absolutely important. So I appreciate that too.
well,
Thank you.
we're definitely glad to have you, and we want to go ahead and turn this platform over to you so you can go ahead and educate the community this evening.
All right, thank you so much. I guess I'll just start with a little bit background about myself following that again fantastic opening. If I can get some, let's get some slides going. Thank you so much. As mentioned, I'm a formerly incarcerated woman. I am a previously homeless Californian. My entire family is formerly incarcerated. My mother, my father, and every last one of my siblings have spent time in a prison, in someone's prison in this here country, from California to Louisiana, Nevada. Me personally, I've spent about 10 years of my life anywhere from a juvenile to adult, anywhere from some of that stuff doesn't even matter. I've been free for about 10 years now, and I'm very proud of that 10 years. I know for most of us, if you can get past the first three, you know, then you can get past the first five. It's just something to celebrate you. It's like sobriety. Then you can get to 7 years, you can get off parole, get your record cleared up. You hit 10 years, you off to the running. The life of crime is officially put behind me. At least that's how I look at the stages. I graduated from the Delancey Street Foundation in 2014. That's really where my journey to political advocacy for formerly incarcerated people really started. I've been off probation since 2015 and got my record cleared in 2017 before it was really popular. I've been homeless here in the state of California as a result of my criminal record. I've cycled anywhere from, sorry, that's my little dog. I've cycled anywhere from, you know, living in my car in San Francisco, living in shelters downtown, you know, hanging on to toxic relationships, living with precarious friends who I know is probably still dibbling and dabbling in the life just to have stable housing. I grew up as a low wage person. My parents were low wage workers. So coming out of jail and prisons, I had been conditioned to go after low wage jobs and just things like that. And just really, I share that stuff just to say that, this coming home from prison and jails, the collateral consequences that we are put up against is really staggering. And I just say that stuff just for whoever out there who's still going through your reentry phase. You just came home, everything you're going through, all you got to do is stay focused and keep your head up, and you will pull through. You will find a stable path for yourself, and you will find success for yourself. No one ever told me it's going to be easy, but it does get better as long as you stick with the program and trust the process. And I really believe that. And so thank you all for allowing me to share a little bit about myself. I currently work for California Coalition for Women's Prisoners. As we heard about earlier, we advocate primarily for women and trans women and men inside California's prisons. We have kind of served as like a watchdog per se, primarily focused on medical conditions in women prisons. We led some work up about 10, 15 years ago to bring an end to shackling pregnant women in prisons. So that will be during and from court, during and from medical appointments, and during and from labor, giving birth. Women were being shackled and stuff like that. So CCWP was one of the primary sponsors that led the way to ending that. I'm a proud member of All of Us or None. I have worked for just a little bit about everywhere from doing direct service work. I worked at Hospitality House in San Francisco as a peer counselor on 6th Street, over there on Turk Street. That's really where I got my start in the nonprofit world. So big shout out to the folks over there at Hospitality House. I was actually homeless at the time when I got that job. And so that job, it was just like another catalyst and another turning point for me. They seen that I had a little drive or whatever. Somebody pulled me to the side, encouraged me to apply for the position. They talked to some folks and got me an interview right away because I had needed employment. And so just again, big shout out to Hospitality House. I really love and appreciate them and the services that they provide in San Francisco and some of the hardest hit areas right now. So yeah, let me see. Today, I am here to talk about some of the prison closure work that I'm a part of and that's going on up and down the state of California. Big shout out to CURB, that's Communities United for a Responsible Budget. They are really holding and honing this space. CURB is an organization that focuses on the California state budget and specifically the corrections budget. And CURB follows that budget from actual savings. CURB mission is to follow that budget and monitor how we can better use that budget from being spent in prisons and following that money down into the communities to community-based resources like Hospitality House or some of the other creative programs that we see now. Folks like Crop, folks like Pier One. There's a multitude of folks, All of Us or None. People that can community work that has been in the streets really doing some of the work, providing reentry services for people like me and for people like others. And so that's what CURB do. They focus on the corrections budget and they follow how that money can better be spent. And CURB is very active in this work. CURB put forth budget analysts for the legislators. We have 120 legislators here in the state of California. CURB puts forth a very comprehensive budget that's people-focused, people-oriented, focused on savings. Where in a deficit, CURB takes all that stuff into consideration in order to really work with the legislators around these issues. CURB is a member-based organization, so it's made up of over 80 community-based organizations up and down the state. My organization, CCWP, is a part of it. All of Us or None, LSPC. I could really name a lot of people. Dignity and Power Now down in Los Angeles. So yeah, just again, big shout out to Curb and Amber Rose Howard and Brian Canada and the folks over there really holding and honing this work for us. And I'm proud to be on the Ledge team and to be active in this movement. Um, why prison closure? Right now, just a little bit about why I personally feel prison closure. In the past couple of weeks, I have been anywhere from city council meetings opposing more military spending, opposing funds to build more county jails, opposing these homeless sweeps that we seeing. I have been in front of the federal courthouse as my organization filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of 10 women in the excuse me, the Federal Corrections Institution in Dublin, the Women's Federal Institution. We was at the federal courthouse filing a class action lawsuit for sexual assault in these women's prisons. This stuff has been all over the news. It's really hard to miss. In the same breath, I yesterday was at a hearing about sexual assault in California's state prisons here in our state. Let me see. I'm talking to community members. I'm talking to my neighbors on my own time when they're frustrated about a car break-in or whatever the case may be, about what is public safety. Who are the first responders when something happened to you? When and where should we be calling on our police forces to handle what type of incidents in the community? I'm having conversations again with legislators talking about proven alternatives and things like that. So I'm saying all this to say, why prison closure? There's a multitude of reasons of why prison closure. The Ella Baker Center recently released a report, and excuse me for not having a link to this. I just thought of it as I was talking, actually, about the how prisons actually wreck the environment. Most of California prisons are in a environmentally vulnerable compromised zones. They're in rural areas, so they're subject to heat. We are actively hearing from folks locked up about when we experiencing these heat waves, people are dying in their prison cells. There's no air conditioning, obviously. They rely on swamp coolers, which break often, and it's using recycled old water to help cool these systems. We dealing with atmospheric rivers. We dealing with floods. Most prisons are in a floodplain, a flood zone. San Bruno County Jail, that stuff is in a flood zone. San Quentin, where they're trying to pump $360 million, and I'll get to that later. That is in an active flood zone. That has been slated by the Army Corps of Engineers to be in an active flood zone. So why would we be pumping $360 into this facility instead of looking at closing these prisons in a safe manner for everyone involved? The folks that's locked up, the guards, victim rights advocates, the people coming home, family members, just looking at a real safe, holistic way instead of wasting more money. So why close prisons now? They're a public health crisis. I talked about women being raped and sexually harassed. We've all heard about the deaths in the county jails, Alameda County Jail, way down San Diego County Jail. They didn't have about 40 deaths. Prisons wreck their environment. I would encourage everybody to check out the Ella Baker Center's environmental report on these vulnerable prisons. I mean, I think it's no secret here that prisons target Black and brown communities. Not to beat the dead horse, but I think we already know how prisons intentionally and persistently target poor and marginalized people. And again, that's predominantly going to be Black and brown communities. In prisons, I talked about Curb. I opened it by talking about Curb and focusing on the state budget and how, we are focused on how this money could better be spent for everybody. We're in a deficit in 2023, 2024. The Legislative Analyst's Office have recommended we close prisons to save money. They've outlined ways we can save money. CURB has put forward a very detailed, very comprehensive, very doable interactive plan for how we can close prisons and the type of money that will save. Prisons have a grip on our resources. You know, instead of funding and scaling proven opportunities, here we are hoping for another grant allotment every year, even though the state prison is getting $19 billion out of the budget every year. But their budget go up every year, even though people are coming home. We fighting to close prisons. We just shut down the juvenile justice facilities have closed. Where is the savings going? You know, these prisons are extremely costly. They divert very much needed resources that could go to life affirming services. Have folks checked the price of milk lately? I mean, people need help more than ever right now. The food bank lines are around the corner. People robbing and stealing just to get meals and pay rent and stuff like that. So why close prisons? I could drag this point for a long time. There's plenty of opportunities. Why close prisons now? Along with everything I just spoke about, California has already been committed to divesting in prisons for the past 10 years with proven success. You know, the savings from Proposition 47 has been tremendous, monumental. CSJ, Californians for Safety and Justice, Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, they put out very detailed, fantastic, interactive reports really showing where the savings from Prop 47 is going to. The AB 109 money, that's some stuff that passed 15 years ago. We're now seeing the benefits of how this money can be better used to, again, fund. We got new community centers out here that, you know, we're looking to scale up. We're looking to expand past only AB 109 recipients. You have to be on probation or something to utilize some of these programs. We're looking for money to expand these programs. So California has been committed to divesting in prisons and things like that for the past 10 years. Again, we're proving success. The evidence is there. So it's just kind of long overdue. You know, it's time for the California prison construction boom to go ahead and come to an end. It was devastating for us when it was popping. California lost a lot of money going into business with some of these private prisons and shipping folks out of state and stuff like that. It's really shocking when you dive into some of these things. So closing prisons now is what we've been doing. It's what we committed to doing. And it's just the right thing. And it's just the right direction for California. We have the second largest prison population in the country. It's just time for California to continue being a leader in this area. I spoke earlier about how to really be locked in and really engaged and in tune with really talking to all the stakeholders about how to close a prison safely, you know, insanely, with conditions. We thinking about everybody. Again, we thinking about the towns that have unfortunately become reliant upon prisons through jobs, I don't know, little coffee shops, whatever else they operate and things like that because of the prison population. We know about voting, gerrymandering and stuff like that. You know, people that's eligible to come home. Let's bring folks home, you know. So the people's criteria for prison closure is what we're calling it. In CURB and the organizations that are a part of CURB is very holistic and all inclusive. We have some top scholars. We have education people involved with this. We got formerly incarcerated leaders like myself. We have legislators. We have health officials. We have teachers. We have a really inclusive group that has really worked to put together a criteria, you know, based on survey responses from people inside, outside, people depending on this. You know, what is a safe way to do this? So this is the top 5 criteria that we've put together that California should be prioritizing when making decisions about closing prisons. And this again comes from community members. CDCR lacks a clear plan. The Legislative Analyst Office has stated that and has called for CDCR to please put forward a plan so we can go ahead and take a look at this. And they have failed to done so. But the community, CURB, has put forward a fantastic roadmap to prison closures. We have presented this to the legislators, and they have been very appreciative of this. The LAO office have quoted this. The media have quoted this. So we're gonna give a little snapshot of what this looks like. Here's the top 5 criteria we were calling for. Well, this is the top 5 criteria of why we should, of the prisons that should be closed, and then we'll get into like the roadmap of some of the ways that we can prioritize closing these prisons. So some of the top criteria for prisons that should be closed, we're calling for 10. 1, unsafe health conditions. That's going to be water contamination, poison, asbestos, mold, and etc. Most overcrowded. Excuse me, that's my dog. Most overcrowded. Even though California prisons have been under receivership since 2011, I think we're all familiar about that. California remains to continue to have overcrowded prisons. The cost of incarceration, we talked about that. It costs about $130,000 per individual to incarcerate one person. That's 3 times the amount it costs to send a young child to K through 12 school. That's twice the amount we're paying for a little 4-year education at one of these colleges or something like that. The location of a prison and the distance from loved ones, including inaccessible travel. People, I'm from the Bay Area. You got guys from the Bay Area, they locked up in the Oregon border, way up in Eureka. No one can afford to visit a family member way up in Eureka. And then that leads to 10 years down the line, folks have lost contact with family members, and it's just kind of breaking up the family structure there. And number 5, the highest number of homicides and suicides occurring in a prison. So again, this is going to be our top 5 criteria for how to choose which prisons to close. And we have we're calling for 10 prisons. We have put forward 10 prisons to the governor and the legislature based off these criteria. And with that, we have put forward the people's roadmap for closing a prison. Some of this stuff, like I said, we're going to take a quick snapshot at it. Close 10 prisons by 2025. Keep them fully closed, not close them and repurpose them into an ICE facility or something like that. That's not what we're trying to do. Uplift the demands of directly impacted people. So directly impacted people, right? That can be expensive. So I'm a directly impacted person. I've served time in a California jail and prison. You have a loved one you've been taking care of and spending your money and time to go visit. You're a directly impacted person. Again, these small prison towns, and I'm sorry to call them prison towns, I hope that's not offending anyone, but these small prison towns that have become reliant upon a state prison being in their district for them to be able to eat and go to work with their little coffee shops and stuff like that. Those are going to be directly impacted people. I'm not here to speak up for CEOs and stuff like that, but I get it. Those are people too. They got jobs and families and mortgages to pay too. We want to look out for those workers. What's going to happen to those workers? The state should come to the table. Prisons are state-run facilities. The state should come to the table to help, retrain these workers for, let me go back to that slide, to help retrain some of these workers, for a new career path. Increase releases and avoid harmful transfers. We have tons of successful new laws and policies that have been established that can bring our loved ones home. People can come home under resentencing, under the Felony Elimination Murder Act rule. People are earning more credits. We're giving more credence to people's good behavior. You got a degree and things like that. So there's all kind of pipelines and platforms that we can really take a look at for bringing people home safely. There's more opportunities and programs than ever. So we need to really take a look at increasing releases, avoiding harmful transfers. For those that's not eligible for release or whatever the case may be, let's go ahead and transfer people to facilities that's not in the flood zone, to facilities that's not recording suicides and murders and sex assaults and rapes. Let's go ahead and take a real look at transferring folks that simply can't be released, okay? But absolutely, we're about freeing them all. Investing in life affirming services. not more money for the Department of Corrections. I mentioned earlier that the governor has wrangled $360 out of the legislature to rebrand San Quentin as the California model. Hey, we love what Norway is doing with their holistic prisons or whatever they got going. I've never been there. I ain't never seen it. But whatever it is that they're touting and trying to bring here, that's great. But this is the United States of America that locks up the most prisoners in the world. This is California with the highest prison population. And these prisons, I've been in one. These are some of the most corrupt, evil. And again, I'm not here to put all the COs down or whatever the case may be, but these are some of the most corrupt, evil, and just downright dirty people walking the planet Earth. There's predators working for the Department of Corrections. It's real sad out here, and we need to take a look at the hiring process for some of these fools. So we need, instead of trying to rebrand San Quentin as something different, let's go ahead and close this environmental hazard down. Let's bring folks home, transfer, and let's go ahead and reinvest this money in life affirming services. And lastly but not least, we're always demanding creating good jobs and economic resources for all Californians. I've been in the California prisons. I fought fires. This is a burning state. We're in fire season. It's just getting kicked off. Everybody see what happened in Maui. We hear about what's going on in Canada with the fires. I've ran up and down these mountains for that little $1 a day, $1 an hour on a fire crew in California. Do I look like a firefighter here today? No, I cannot. I can't go get an EMT license and none of that stuff. Let's go ahead and create good jobs and economic resources for people coming home from jails and prisons, for people that's never been to jails and prisons. People out here struggling. People working 20 jobs just to pay rent in California and still living paycheck to paycheck. Let's go ahead and focus on doing something different with that $360. Okay, I know I've been saying a lot and I'm talking a little fast and stuff like that because I'm getting passionate and I'm getting a little fired up because I'm really serious about, this work that we're doing. It's very critical and it's very vital that we paying attention to what's going on here in the state of California. We about to come up in another voting season. We need to be paying attention to these legislators that's running for office. What's going on? Where they come from? What are their stances and backgrounds when it comes to some of this stuff? Because we really dealing with a lot. We could always use more help from the community. And what we need is people to start paying attention and voting for legislators that's really serious about doing something for our people and not folks that's just looking to climb the political career stream. We've seen enough of that. Look where it's gotten us. Look at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I love them to death. I'm serious. I love Kamala Harris, Black woman, very successful, fantastic. I love her. Joe Biden too. I'll just love him to death. But at the end of the day, these were folks that were absolutely behind some of these tough on crime policies. I don't think Joe Biden was one of the main champions. There's video of him arguing for these policies back in the early 90s or whatever the case may be when he wasn't 80 years old. Kamala Harris too. She got to where she's at by being tough on crime. She came out of San Francisco with this craziness. And so we need to really be focused on this upcoming voting season and paying attention because this stuff really impacts the work that we're trying to do. And so, yeah, that's a call to action to the community. Let me get on track because I got a little sidetracked there. Okay, so our main strategy right now that we are focused on, we have several different work groups, but what we're trying to do is pass legislation going into next year. We're looking at ways to impact the budget, or mandate some phase closures of these prisons. And we're really just focused on the emphasis on shifting these funds to some of the things that I've kind of been talking about. We need legislators and community members that can help us write letters to reject CDCR's budget increases. Every year the budget increase. We shrinking the populations, but the budget keep going up. We're operating prisons that's half full, but we paying full costs when it comes to. You have to operate the whole facility, regardless if you got one person in there or 20,000. You still got to pay to operate the whole facility. So these funds just continue to go up every year. And again, we in the budget deficit. How come they asking for more money? So we really need to be focused on rejecting these budget increases. we're looking to pressure policymakers and build relationships in Sacramento. So when we asking for people to, click an email to send a message to your legislator, please help us do that. It take a lot of time for us to put these emails together and target it for your particular district so it can kind of be ready made so people can participate a little more. That helps us put a little pressure in a good and bad way on policymakers. And it helps us build relationships. We want to be talking to these people. So we're hosting lobby days where we can go talk. You don't have to be dressed up in no 10-piece $1,000 suit. You don't have to be in a Ferrari. You can be a regular Joe Schmo like me that's just coming in there to talk to this representative about what's important to me and my community. We're looking to increase broad organizational and individual support. So that's some of the calls I'm making now. We need people responding to the emails to send in these messages. When we doing lobby days, a lot of times, we're paying to bus people to Sacramento. We providing lunch. We're providing breakfast. It's hot in Sacramento. Guess what? We're providing fans. We're providing water. We're really trying our best to make it accessible to get individuals involved and any organizations that want to sign on to this stuff. We would love to have you. Absolutely. Researching just transitions. Again, the towns that these closures is going to impact, economic development for these towns, replacing jobs for these officers, the mailroom workers, the truck drivers, and whatever else other jobs, that comes with operating a full-scale prison in a town that's in Timbuktu. We really want to help research the transitions for everyone involved. Let me just take a sip of water. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Learn and uplift and support in prison organizers. We got some bright, fantastic, creative men and women behind these bars. Folks have made bad decisions, mistakes, whatever it is you want to call it. We got some bright folks behind these bars that are eligible to come home, and we need to be really learning, supporting, and uplifting these folks. And again, for the folks that can't come home, hey, let's go ahead and remember that these are people. And let's keep that in mind when it's hot. We don't want to leave people suffering in the heat, because you're locked up. We have to remember these are people. And again, just overall, we're trying to present a strong voice for prison closures, in the media, in reality. Again, I mentioned I'm talking to my neighbors about this stuff. I'm just trying to be that voice in the room whenever and wherever I'm at, not debating and arguing with my neighbors. No, just being that person to say, hey, actually, when you're thinking about a first responder, the police really is not there first. It's often a paramedic or something like that. People are complaining now. The police, sometimes because they don't never even show up. So just really, when I'm hearing my neighbors saying things, just really trying to be voice of reason. And also backing that up with evidence. The evidence is right there. Whatever it is you're looking for, you're going to find it. If you're looking for alternatives, this stuff is, we're putting this stuff forward. We just need to do better with, again, putting a strong voice in the media. All we hear about is the crime, the smash and grabs, the car break-ins. It'd be the same car break-in. You just showed that for the past 10 hours on the 10 different news channels. Now you got people thinking it was 10 different car break-ins. So we just really trying to really present a strong, positive, safe, inclusive voice forward for prison closures in the media. Okay, so you guys have been hearing me mention this California model. So this is what's going on. We're all familiar with the old famous San Quentin prison that's sitting over there about to fall off the edge of the cliff. So what's going on is the governor and whoever else is involved with trying to rebrand San Quentin as this Norway vocational training for system or something like that. They're trying to rebrand this old dying prison as some sort of Norway model, as the California model. And as I said earlier, I very appreciate what they're doing over there in Norway, treating the folks like humane or whatever it is they got going on. But this is America and this is California. Let's just be real. Changing the name ain't got nothing to do with the deep-seated culture of corrupt and shame and abuse and greed and degradation and just plain old trauma that goes on inside of California's prisons. I've been inside one. My entire family have. We know what's going on. And we are opposed to this for several reasons. We really see this as a diversion from what the state should be focusing on. And I appreciate Governor Newsom. I love Governor Newsom. You know what I'm saying? He has done a lot for prison reform and things like that. But this one right here, we really just want him to know this is not the direction that we've been focused on. This is not what we committed to. And this is really a diversion. And I understand that, we have to we have to take into consideration political aspirations and stuff like that, but not when it comes to saving lives, not when it comes to saving money and putting that money towards the things that we really need out here. So the governor, unfortunately, this is not the right direction for us, and we're opposed to this. We see it as a diversion. We've put together a roadmap in complement to what the LAO has already highlighted, that CDCR lacks a plan. We can close up to 10 prisons safely. That's the Legislative Analyst Office. That's Legislative Analyst Office. They have already highlighted these things, and they appreciated the roadmap that we shared with them and the legislators as well, because it complements some of the things that they're saying. And we have stepped in as community members and really helped fulfill some of these gaps that CDCR has not put forward, and why they're not willing to just own up to the fact that we need to be focused on closing these prisons. We are not against rehabilitation. I love the vocational training programs. Again, I spend time on a fire camp running up and down the mountains and stuff. But unfortunately, we need to put the money where the mouth is for the vocational programs that already exist before we try to sell the public some phantom programs focused in one facility. They have rehabilitation programs inside the prison facilities. They need to be scaled. They need to be modeled. Let's put forward some money for the organizations that are actually providing the services in the prisons. Let's give these organizations more money so they can serve more people, so they can go in more often with better resources and better paperwork. Let's put that 360 into that instead of trying to sell the public this California model. We have a California model. It ain't working. So let's go ahead and put the money where we didn't already put our mouth at. We got rehabilitation programs. Let's not waste more money giving it to CDCR to build another San Quentin or whatever they trying to put a little paint or some new rooms or whatever they trying to do. Let's go ahead and put that 360 to making these communities a bit more safer. And I'm almost done. We wrapping it up, folks. And this is just overall a quick snapshot. I wish I would have stretched this out a little bit so we can just see some of the organizations that support a CARD, an organization that's supporting prison closures. This is just a little snapshot. What I feel like we're responsible for. We're building broad organizational and individual support. We're looking to grow our base inside prison towns and impacted sectors. Those people are not our enemies. They are impacted community members just like us. Of course, they don't want to close the prison. They're going to lose their resources. That's going to decimate their communities. We know what they're talking about. Our communities have been divested from. We've lost resources. Our communities have, so we know what they are afraid of, and unfortunately, the state has allowed a corrupt prison to be the base for a community to just be hanging on, so we're looking to build a base in these prison towns. These are impacted community members. They got loved ones locked up too. Let's just be honest. Okay, so we looking to engage with these folks. We looking to engage our base in action. Again, we want people signing on to the letters. When we send out email blasts to hit a click email, trust me, we didn't already put together the little script for you. All you got to do is do the little email for us, type your name in. That's all we ask. And we really are working hard to give people an opportunity to get involved. We wanted to be interactive. Again, we doing lobby days all the time. I was before CCWP, I was working at the ACLU. I was organizing there. Fantastic lobby day. They put together a beautiful lobby day this past April. All of Us or None, Quest for Democracy. I engaged. They're on their 10th. They getting ready to do their 10th anniversary. I always do Quest for Democracy Day with them. They bus people up there, put you in a nice hotel. We feed you. We educate you on how to do these lobby visits. If you got elders that can't walk for, we got you. You know, we got shuttles to take the elders over there. We're really working hard to bring the opportunities to people. California for Safety and Justice, time done. They just had a beautiful lobby day this past August. You know, ACE just had a beautiful lobby day. There's all kind of organizations that is active in trying to bring our people together to the Capitol to engage with these opportunities. And they really are beating us down with the working. We're working 10 jobs. You know, I ain't got time to be on no train in KD. It's 8 o'clock at night. I got to cook for the kids. I got to iron. I got to put the gas in the car. I got to get up for work. I get it, you know. So we just need a sliver of your time. You know, if you could get a Saturday morning, you can bring the kids when we putting things together for the community members. You know, the more the community buy in and show support, the more the legislature will have to see us. We put these people in office. So, you know, we looking to engage people with action. We making it actionable. So yeah. Let me shout out some of these organizations, and hopefully you all, I'll shout out somebody you know. Let me see, Surge. Everybody knows Surge, standing up for racial justice. We got the Bay Area chapter, San Francisco chapter, Decarcerate SAC, but Decarcerate statewide too. Cure California, they also do a fantastic lobby day. Love Cure California. I shout out LSPC already. Costa Husa, love Costa Husa, Just Cause. That's our rent, our tenants' rights organizations. Initiate Justice, they stay wide, heavy in the policy game with us. Dignity and Power Now, I mentioned them. SE Justice, Policy Link. Color of Change, everybody know Color of Change. I know you get them Color of Change emails. Trans Latina out of LA, love them. They swinging hard over there. Courage, big shout out to George and Sochi and all them. They swinging hard too in Oakland. Big shout out to Courage too. They was holding down the town nights every Friday. A fantastic opportunity in the Fruitville area. Town nights was more than just the Fruitville area, but I'm just shouting out Courage because they held down the town nights at the Josie De La Cruz Park every Friday throughout the summer. Bringing music, so it was local artists every Friday. Everything was free, so they had pupusas and things was smacking, diapers for the kids, a jumpy house, playhouse. I already said the local artists, all type of resources out there, just bringing together fantastic opportunities for the community. Come out, get involved, get your resource, get you a little piece of popcorn, a little pupusa, get a little diaper, learn about a little policy or something like that, and go home happy and safe. So just big shout out to all of these, and that money and these type of community-based organizations, this funding is coming from the savings, the AB 109 funding, the violence prevention funding, the homeless connections. This funding is funding so many of these community-based opportunities that's happening, you know, and so we need to keep this stuff going so we can continue to increase these services, continue to put the word out about these services, so the folks that is still out there a little lost and confused, dibbling and dabbling, they can start to learn about better pathways up out of that lifestyle for themselves. So just big shout out to some of these organizations that's a part of CURB and that's active and supporting us. And yeah, that is it for the primary portion of the presentation. I appreciate this opportunity again. I said a lot. I was talking a little fast. Again, this is just a snapshot of CURB and what CURB has put forward. We got the roadmap to close prisons. We got the LAO report. So this stuff, you know, there's work groups you can get involved in. So yeah, absolutely. I'm available for question and answer convo. I love it. I appreciate y'all.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for that Great informative presentation. Thank you so much. And I love your enthusiasm. One of the tips that you said was keep them fully closed and do not refurbish them. And the thing that came in my head was refurbish them to another type of prison. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like you know, with the um, immigration and all of those things, you're just going to refurbish it to a different type of prison. Now,
Yep.
in specifics, can you share which 10 prisons you guys are advocating to get closed?
You know what? I can. Hold on. Let me go pull it up though real quick. Can I let me hold on. I gotta exit full screen. And yes, I can. Um Somebody put a question in the chat too. All right, I'm pulling it up now, y'all. People's plan, prison closure, priority prisons to close. Okay, I'm slow. I know. Please don't talk about me. Okay, and yes, and all of this stuff too is public facing. So all of this stuff can be shared. It's curved. Everything curved put together is for the people. So it's not CDCR. You ain't gotta dig down 10 pages, all this stuff. Okay, so we got the California Rehabilitation Center, Kern Valley State Prison. Pleasant Valley State Prison is actually overcrowded. California Corrections Institution, North Kern State Prison, California Substance Abuse Treatment excuse me, thank you. California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility, California State Prison, Los Angeles County, California Medical Facility, Avenal State Prison, and the California Men's Colony. That is a total of 26,769 people. Active projects, we are actively spending. Shit, these numbers is in there. Sorry, folks. That is my doggy, and somebody is coming in and out the door, so she's barking. Closing the 10 prisons in Figure 1, we have estimated that this will save us approximately $1.3 billion in infrastructure and capital outlay spending.
Wow.
Get this link.
Well, that is probably one of the best angles for this conversation, because I'll be quite honest. In America, which is a corporation, everything here is about the dollar. We know that. One of the quotes that always kind of sticks out to me when this conversation comes up is an old one from Meyer Amschel Rothschild, the father of the Rothschild banking dynasty. And he says, I don't care about who makes the laws. Let me control the money and I'll control the people. And it's the same thing here. And this kind of brings the question is, how can we effectively shift resources from prisons to education? Because we're going to the same system and people who are using this to their advantage against us as a measure of oppression. But now we're going to them, asking them to, hey, take your foot off our neck a little bit and give us some money. So how can we as a community in a self-sufficient way aid the financial transition of resources from prisons to more education? You're
You got to
muted, Kate.
unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. So I did mention a little bit earlier. I think what we really need for the community, we need the community to get involved. We need the community to start showing up when we call on a community. We need the community to come get involved with us. Come pay attention. Come help us talk to these legislators. Come share your story. Actively call for what it is that we need, what it is we're looking for. Right now, people are willing to vote on some of these bad policies that come down because we getting beat over the head. We got a voting season coming up. And so it's no coincidence that as we're getting closer, this stuff is a song and dance. We see these ads start to roll out with this person saw it. Like those are the fear mongering ads. And so when we roll these ads out, and now we got the community scared about this and that and the other, now we get the voting for policies that's going against what we really know that we need. We don't need more liquor stores and stuff opening up on a corner, but we all fall victim to the fear mongering. I read a fantastic book last year, Locking Up Our Own. It talked about how in the late 70s and early 80s, we had a flux of Black folks in office, and Black folks were active and trying to pay attention. But unfortunately, Black folks were some of the main people out here voting for some of these devastating policies, these 3 strikes policies and these gun policies that then locked our people up for 20 and 30 years, And so we need the community to be paying attention to what's going on. It's easy to get distracted. We scrolling on our cell phones all day. We out kicking it and having a drink, when we could be in a, reading up on something or paying attention, or having a vote parties with your ballot. Like we need people paying attention, and we need people coming out and voting.
So you touched bases on the communities where these prisons are, and how it will affect the job force. What steps do you feel can transition the focus from incarceration to job creation in these marginalized communities? What do you think that would be effective in actually creating jobs in these spaces where you guys are advocating for the prisons to close?
That is a great question. And so we talk about a decarceral just transition and support for those impacted communities. California, we feel like California has a historic opportunity to transform the carceral landscape by implementing a framework that is developed to aim around the economic shift away from these things. We are calling for the state to get involved. The state is in charge of these facilities. The state had it was a planning process to build these prisons. So just how we had to get some engineers, we had to get some businessmen to look at this area to say this is a good area for this. We need the state to do the same thing and to come to bring some jobs to these same towns. So we need to get the businessmen involved, the geological surveyors or whatever they do. We need the same process to look at these areas. Let's survey these members. Let's have town halls. Let's talk to these people. What are the trades? What would you like to see in your community? They've repurposed some of their stuff in New York and stuff in the little museums and coffee shops. This is a burning state. Let's build some firefighting bases, facilities out there. So that same community, let's get these young men and women trained into this firefighting communities. You know what I'm saying? We ain't it's a shortage in firefighters. Let's go ahead and let's turn this community right here that's in one of these deep hot areas. Let's turn this into a fire station community. So now we really based off a bunch of firefighters, and you're gonna get the same type of community building. We still need a little coffee shop for the firemen. We need drive-throughs to wash the fire trucks. We need the doggy watches to watch the fire dogs. Like you're gonna get the same type of community build up for areas like the San Quentin. That's an old little raggedy toenail island. Let's go ahead and again, let's get the geological surveyors in there. What can we do with this island? Let's bring green jobs. Let's start thinking about bringing green jobs. Ain't that popular? Aren't we looking to bring green jobs? Can we build some windmill plants over there? Like, let's get the state. I'm calling on the state. This is the state's responsibility to step in and support these workers. These are workers. What do this town need? Agriculture. Do we need to be, is this land that's fertile? That we didn't buried with this prison. Let's get this about the way so we can start growing. I don't know what we need to be growing, some leeks and lettuce. Let's get these people to the table. Let's get some surveys going. What's the skill set? How long? You know what I'm saying? The same way we did to get the prison built, we need to be doing the same thing to get the new industry built. That's what I would say.
And Katie, I couldn't agree more with you. Again, I served time here in Texas, where I'm from, back in the '90s, and I remember having some of the conversations after coming out, trying to make the transition. I was fortunate enough to have family support and some support from the church community, but when you're having these conversations with the politicians, what type of genuine engagement are you seeing, and how does your work kind of combat the systematic racism and inequality that's kind of built into the political structure? How does your work kind of combat that, especially when you're talking about the prison system? Because most of society kind of thinks of people who've been incarcerated as kind of the throwaways, and so when you're talking about closing prisons, how are you really seeing the engagement work at the systematic level, to where people are starting to see value in people as human beings, not just ex-cons or ex-felons?
That's a fantastic question. And you know what? It's hard to say, you know, what's a genuine, let me get this dog for start barking. What's a genuine conversation with some of these legislators? I think a lot of times we got legislators, they people, they got biases and insecurities and inhibitions and underlying worries and stuff too. And so to me, what I feel like legislators are more comfortable with doing piecemeal work. Like, okay, we just passed the Racial Justice Act. So the Racial Justice Act is to really take a look at if your sentencing was impacted by racial bias, whether from the policing stage, the prosecutorial stage, or the jury stage. Was there some sort of racism built into that? And if it was, then we're gonna go ahead and put you forward for resentencing or whatever the follow up is to that. And then we just got a budget allocation for the Racial Justice Act too, which is a huge win. And the budget allocation just kind of adds some teeth to it as far as technical fixes. The first thing the district attorney says is, well, we don't have the manpower to be reviewing these cases. And so the budget allocation gives them a few dollars to be able to hire some folks or whatever the case may be. Again, if there's some systems, we don't have the system. So the budget allocations gives folks some money to pay a consultant or something to come update your system or something like that. So that's a small technical fix that it seems to me like legislators are more willing to do stuff like that. And the Racial Justice Act is no small feat now. That's a huge piece of legislation. You know what I'm saying, that we're aimed at. But folks are still reluctant to just come out and say, hey, let's go ahead and shut this prison down. And let's really bring home the people that can come home and transfer who need to be transferred. They just still not ready to come out and say it in the public. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Again, you got your little mortgage or whatever you're paying to. You want to keep your little job or whatever the case may be. I get it. And again, they human beings too. And so I feel like when we in there, it's hard to be able to tell who's really being genuine in some of the conversations. And then a lot of times you don't get the time to speak with the legislator. Probably the paid consultants, you're really talking to like a staffer. And so you got to kind of juggle that too. And they're like, well, I'm not the legislator. I can't say, well, okay, sure. So a lot of times, like, that's kind of the level too, like we working at, and then a staffer, and I'm not putting down the staffers. Sometimes it's their first year. They just got out of school. They got a little fellowship. They like, girl, I'm just learning this stuff myself. You know what I'm saying? So they might not be as seasoned as if you would have got the legislative director. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it's just hard. You're just hoping that the message that the legislator is going to put it, to the legislator and things like that. And so it's really hard to be able to gauge when you feel like a legislator is being genuine with you or not. I hope I'm
So
answering questions.
yes, definitely. Which leads to my next question. How does one prove racial bias in a conviction?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. I am not a lawyer, so I don't know what type of tools and methods that they using, but I think folks are looking at it from ways of, okay, well, if we got Katie Dixon in 1994 who committed an armed robbery and a stolen vehicle, we gave her 20 years, but Bobby, who was white in 1994, well, he got a similar crime and Bobby got 5 years. I think maybe they're looking at like maybe clusters, like, okay, Alameda County, we got 90% of black defendants. They're all been charged with some sort of I think that's like a way that that folks are able to kind of look at it. And that is tedious. That's a lot of number crunching, pulling, cross-referencing, and things like that. So it is very tedious. And I do think that's why they need investigators and things like that. Because again, the public defenders and stuff like that, they caseload is 1,000 to 1. They barely getting by on their mortgage too. And so they might not have the time and the devotions with a keen eye to really be doing that number crunching like that. So I don't know really what the real strategies that the attorneys and stuff is using to really prove racial bias, because that's
It,
hard. It's hard to prove.
it's America. It's almost embedded. Like you can just look
Mm-hmm.
at our history, the culture of America. It's not hard to recognize that, but it's being able to document it and have it as a quote, having the receipts on being able to prove it. And even when we get video evidence, we know the justice system ain't quite just for us. So people like yourself, Katie, I ain't gonna lie. I'm so glad that we have people like yourself who are active in trying to work with solutions. Because again, if you can't fix all the problems by yourself, but you're putting effort in, you're bringing light to it, you're networking and working with other organizations and other people. So I just want to make sure that we have this opportunity to salute you, because again, so many times this conversation isn't very sexy. A lot of people don't want to have it, but it needs to be had, because these are people's lives that we're talking about, and we're talking about the economic impact on communities. And again, that's what they really care about, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money in America. But I'm glad that you have a heart to do what you do, and I just want to salute you for that.
Well, thank y'all, and I appreciate these Excuse me. I appreciate these different platforms, and the opportunities too for us to be spreading the word and talking about this stuff. Because when I came home in 2014, hey, wasn't nobody on YouTube talking about no prison closure, and we wasn't having hearings in the state capitol, and folks really paved the way for us to be able to get one of these legislators in a room to talk in a real way. So I appreciate this opportunity and the work that both sides of the conversation is doing, and this is very important as well. Thank y'all so much for having us and doing this stuff. This is very important, and I just love Educational Thursday. This is educational. I'm an educator.
You definitely are. You definitely are. Because I got everybody knows I take my notes. I take my notes, but I appreciate the work that you guys are doing at Curb, you yourself and everyone else that's advocating for these closures and pushing through and following through with the reform work for those prisoners who have to be relocated and are in hopes that their cases get turned over and are released. The reform work is where the job really starts. The closure, we need signatures, we need boots on the ground, definitely. But the follow through for
Mm-hmm.
those prisoners who have gone through those horrendous conditions, the mental health,
Mm-hmm.
the having stable living conditions, because it's horrible to go from a prison where you're sleeping in sludge and all of those. I can't even think about the conditions in some of those prisons. But you come out, they give you a pat on the back, maybe a bag lunch, and you have, it's survival of
Mm-hmm.
the fit. It's the revolving door aspect, because they don't set you up for success. They set you up to come right back and fill those beds. So the
Yep.
reform work is so important. I appreciate every past guest that we've had on advocating for reform work and the follow through for the prisoners who come home. Everybody has life struggles. And I'm not saying, one sin is better than the other. However, for those who are willing to do that inner work and to be better people and to be functioning people in society, just to get their a little bit of reality back, just a little bit. Because I can't imagine being in a prison for 10 odd years and having to deprogram yourself, coming out with no hope. You can't get a reasonable job because you have
Mm-hmm.
a record. Everyone looks at your record, not your resume.
Yep.
And it's very hard, especially for our people, to even get a leg up amongst ourselves, because you're
Yep.
already stereotyped and you're already put in this box because of your past transgressions. And that's unfair. We ourselves in the community have to change our thinking and outlook. Let's start building these jobs for our people who are coming home. Let's start
Yep.
building these communities up, like you said, with the prisons closing. Let's gentrify some of these neighborhoods as well, with a
Yeah.
different perspective, with not just trying to, for lack of a better word, whitewash it. So I appreciate your advocacy and your transparency. I love it when we have educationers come educational Thursdays, because we have people who come on not only just speaking of what they've learned, but their experiences. So I appreciate you, sister. I appreciate you wholeheartedly for coming on, and the passion that you have for this work shows your dedication, and you are serious about actually putting action behind the words. So I commend you on your work, and big ups to Curb and all the work that they're doing. Let's get some signatures out there. Let's get your information up on how people can actually sign up. And in closing, if you have any shout outs that you want to give, you want to got anybody that you want to, say thank you to, or just shout out your organization and things like that. This is your time now, Katie.
Oh, I think I shouted folks out already. Big shout out to Curb. They definitely hold the space down for us. I appreciate all of them folks. I appreciate my folks based in San Francisco, Bobby and Pier One and all of them folks. Um, both sides of the conversation. I appreciate both sides of the conversation. Y'all be in the community too. I see y'all out there. And to everybody that's homeless and struggling, just keep your head up, stay focused, be nice, work hard, and times will change. And for the people that's walking past the homeless people, be nice, go on to work, have a good day, and don't be fooled by the headlines. Thank y'all.
Well, thank you again,
Thank
Katie,
you so much.
for educating us and bringing light to the situation. You truly are one of a kind, and we appreciate all the work you do. And thank you for the doggies too. Thank them for chipping in, and we appreciate all our community activists.
It's my babies. They got shots today.
Well, we're gonna keep them healthy. Then
Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it.
it's been a pleasure.
Have a
Oh well, all right, Sister Ayo. God, this hits. I know this hits home for all of us a little differently. Um, sometimes just talking about it, it's almost overwhelming because we understand how big of a situation that we're facing, yeah, not just in California, not just in Texas, but across the nation when it comes to incarceration. The United States has literally made it a product. People are making serious money off of locking people up, so it's hard to find a authentic, genuine gesture from the institutional side. But it's so encouraging to see that we have people that have been through the fire and that continue to advocate and work towards shedding light on the situation. And I think KD is just another example of when you can take the lemons of life and make lemonade, so to speak, and really go hard for people, and do it in a smart way. Because again, it's one thing to make an emotional appeal, but they're making the financial appeal. And to me, that is the most strategic and sound way to do it, because at the end of the day, the institutions care about that almighty dollar, not the people. So it's on us as people to make sure that we can stand up and advocate for ourselves. So tremendous educational Thursday tonight.
Yeah, and especially like the news you read of all the schools potentially closing in San Francisco. I'm from San Francisco. My son, they started school last week. He still doesn't even have a Spanish teacher. You know what I mean? How can we utilize that great, that, what did she say, 370? 370? How can we utilize that and effectively pouring it into our schools, opposed to rebuilding, refurbishing, and pouring it into more prisons? Just think about where the future is. You want to keep us stagnant with people who've committed crimes, their past transgressions, or should we be utilizing that money to prevent our children from ending up in that same cycle because of the lack of education, because of the lack of resources? You got to weigh out your options here, right? We definitely need to get some of these legislators to actually understand what it's doing to our children and what hope you're actually creating for them. What other option do they have? You pour more money into a prison than you do a school. What are you teaching them? What is that model behavior?
Unfortunately, it's just a reality of America. Like, we understand this is not an accident. This is planned. There are people who've had the opportunity to strategize how they wanted to put this in play, and it's been going on for a long time. And so we're going to have to fight this at an economic level as well. And I think, again, for the community, people understand we have to participate in the political process, but just being honest, we can't expect politicians to fix our problems. They're not they don't have the political will or interest to actually solve our problems, because they build platforms for their political aspirations off the backs of poor people in the community. And it's on us. We have to take accountability for the part that we play in it. And we also have to take accountability to participate in it as far as we can. But at the end of the day, it's going to be on us to fix our own problems. But again, I do want to encourage everybody to continue to petition your legislators, your elected officials, get out and vote, be educated, be aware of how these policies will impact your community. But by all means, follow the money. Because if you really want to know who's behind what's happening, look at where the money's going. That is just how America works. And again, whew, God, yeah, I don't know what's going on in California. It seems like there's somebody's trying to tear California apart. Again, we could talk about the natural disasters. You could talk about them pulling the banking, the food deserts, like all of the issues that y'all are dealing with are not by accident. And again, I pray that the community sticks together at a grassroots level to make sure that we do everything we can to protect ourselves. So, with that being said, Sister Al, you got any last words before we get out of here?
Just good night, community. And make sure you go back and watch this Educational Thursday. Get all the information where you can sign up and be an advocate, be a voice, be heard, put those signatures out there, and, be a part of the community that we're trying to rebuild ourselves.
There you have it. Well, for another Educational Thursday from both sides of the conversation. And again, on behalf of the Bishop, Mr. John Henry, community, we love you. Take care of yourselves and be blessed. Good night.